Heidi here. I am going to do a cook with me video today. A lot of you guys are like, you do cook with me videos and we don't ever get to see you. So I'm starting this one out and you get to see me. Lucky you. Hopefully my hair isn't too wild. I washed it last night and I'm using a new leave-in conditioner and it gave me like a lot of body, and so when I curled it, it just was like whew, and I have a lot of hair, so that was funny. Anyhow, let's see what's going on. I just thought I would stop in at the beginning of this video and just say hi. And today we're going to be making some homemade vegetable beef stew. Now, when I make vegetable beef stew, yes, I can use stew meat, but a friend of mine actually showed me how to make it just by using regular ground turkey, and so I just started doing it that way and found that my kids actually enjoy it a lot better. We're going to use both canned vegetables and fresh vegetables. We're going to use some garlic. We are going to use some packaged seasonings for beef stew, and hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, I have everything to make some pumpkin muffins. I was going to do a cake. However, I realized I was completely out of milk today, and so I don't want to wait, you know, to shoot this video when it's dark outside and all that kind of thing. So I just decided to pull out an old recipe that I've used a million times for pumpkin cream cheese muffins. Basically, it's like a pumpkin muffin and it is filled with cream cheese, and you can top it. There's actually a part of the recipe where you can make a frosting. However, when I made that, it made it look pretty. And, you know, there's no doubt when you have like a cupcake or a muffin and it has this really pretty top on the top. It's pretty, but it was, for my family's personal taste, with the cream cheese center, it was too much. And so I usually just top mine with like a whipped cream when I serve them, or I will just, if it's like something that you want to take in a lunch box, or you know, you want to eat for breakfast with a cup of coffee on the go, sometimes I'll just dust the top with a little bit of powdered sugar as opposed to making that heavy frosting to put right on the top. So hopefully that kind of helps you guys. You guys can decide. I will put the actual entire recipe down below in the description box so that you guys can decide what you would like. It's definitely up to you. But the first thing I need to do right now is I need to get my meat out of the freezer. I'm gonna pop it into the microwave and defrost it, and I'm gonna get my stuff laid out, and we're gonna get cooking because guess what? This is going to be a fall cook with me video because fall is here and I'm so excited about fall. When you live here in the South, it gets so hot in the summer. So, you know, you spend a lot of time in the pool and you're fine in the pool, but sometimes it actually gets so warm that the pool is hot. But let me say this. You don't do a lot outside in the summer. I mean, yes, my guys cut the grass and, you know, you do what you have to do, but anything extending that, you really don't do it because sometimes the heat index here is like 110, 112, and it is hot. When cooler weather comes, that means we go to parks and we go on walks and hikes and we enjoy the outside a lot more. So I'm most certainly ready for the cooler weather. I'm looking so forward to enjoying it. So I'm gonna pop on an apron, I'm gonna get my meat thawed, and we're gonna get this video started. You guys ready? Okay, let's gear up. Okay guys, let's get cooking. So I got a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of my pan. By the way, I'm using my steel bowl. Okay, I'm back. My son just came home from classes, so wanted to talk to him. Plus, I texted him and asked him what time he was coming home because I needed some canned food taken down and I'm short and I didn't have anybody at home to get it for me, so I'm like, hey, what time are you coming home? I need my tall kid. I really need some help. So the first thing I want to do is brown my meat. And I'm going to add in, you're seeing my stove smoke a little bit. I'm going to add in my onion that I've got diced up. And there's not really a precise recipe to this because you can use any kind of meat that you want. You know, I've used deer, I've used ground beef, I've used stew meat, so any type of meat that you want you can use. So I'm going to put in my onion, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in some garlic, and I'm just using the minced garlic that comes in a jar, just a little bit. Maybe a lot for you guys, so you know, add as much as you want to add. It's up to you. Once I get this good and browned, I will come back and show you what I do. Hopefully you guys can see there's a lot of steam coming out of here. So my meat is brown, and you do not have to cook these onions until they are soft because this is a stew and it's going to stew for a while, which means to set and to cook for a while. So in here I've got some carrots and I've got some celery. And I saved y'all the boring video section of me chopping this stuff up. So I just want to stir this in. Now, what I'm going to do is I just want to put enough water in here to cover these vegetables. And I also want to use hot water. You have to be really careful when you're cooking, at least I've always been told. You know, bringing your food up to temperature and bringing it back down to temperature, and I always use hot water. So I'm going to take my pot over to the sink and actually just use hot water and just put enough that I can cover these veggies. Okay, now that my veggies are covered with water, I'm going to bring my pot up, the temperature up a little bit to kind of bring this to a boil. I want this to simmer, and I'm going to put a lid on it and just kind of get those vegetables to the, you know, the tenderness that I want it to. Hey guys, I thought I would come in here and tell you guys a couple things. First thing is before you start the soup, because we're going to be doing a muffins, the pumpkin muffins, make sure you set your cream cheese out because you'll want that to get at room temperature. So just thought I would throw that in there here. And I wanted to tell you guys something funny. So I sent my guys to the store because I was all out of muffin papers, the little baking cups, and I said pick out something that is fall looking. You know, the stores have tons of selection when it comes to baking cups that look like fall. This is what they came home with. Boys don't care. I'm telling you, they do not care. This is as fall as they get. Hey, we're back. My carrots and my celery, they're not completely done, but they are just on the verge, and I do not like to take vegetables and deplete them into nothing because then they kind of lose what their purpose is. So while this is hot, I add in a giant can of crushed tomatoes. Now this is completely optional, but I love crushed tomatoes in my soup. And you can use diced tomatoes, stewed tomatoes, the seasoned Italian stewed tomatoes are good. I just use whatever I have on hand. So this is really just one of those recipes that you can just make your own. So I stir that in. There we go. And tomatoes just add to the soup, to be quite honest with you. And then I'm going to add in a can of sweet corn. I don't drain it. There again, it is whatever your preference. And if you use frozen vegetables, that's fine too. I'm just using what I have on hand. So I'm going to put in some sweet peas in here. And some green beans. Be careful not to splatter yourself. There we go. Now because I got a lot of broth going, my last couple cans of vegetables, I'm going to drain those. And I know if you're trying to diet or cut down, getting rid of that, you know, what they are canned in, the juices that they're canned in, that is really important. There's a lot of sodium in that. But obviously, I'm not worrying about that right now, am I? Okay, so I also should mention that I added a little bit of salt and pepper to this. Now see, this is already taking on an exceptional look here because got all these colors, and I love the orange from the carrots, and I just love stew. So I'm going to show you guys, this is what I use to season. It is the beef stew McCormick brand seasoning mix. Now I love these seasoning packets, and a lot of people have been saying they have sugar added into them and everything, but that's not going to stop me from using it because I absolutely love the way that this flavors my stew. So I want to get this mixed in. And the idea with this is to bring this up to a heat, and I put my lid on it, and I actually just kind of let this stew, literally, for an hour before I serve it. It makes the house smell good. You can make some homemade bread, some rolls with this. Some nice hearty crackers would be good with this. You could serve it with a salad and add even more vegetables to your day. And see, that seasoning even makes the broth change color, and it gets darker, and it takes more on a stew look. If 1 pound of ground turkey isn't enough for you, add as much meat as you want. Like I said, this is a very versatile recipe. There is no right way or wrong way to do this. I'm just showing you my very basic way and what I have in the pantry. That's how I cook around here to save on the grocery budget. So I'm just going to bring this up till it kind of is in a simmer and put the lid on it, and this will be good. This is done basically. I just need it to simmer for a while before I serve it, and so I'm going to get started on those pumpkin muffins. Okay, let's get started on our batter for our pumpkin muffins. Lucas is making so much noise. Okay, I've got 4 eggs in here, and I want to break those up first with my mixer. And I'm looking at the ingredients, is 2 cups of sugar. So I've got my sugar container behind me. Go ahead and add that in. And I'm going to go ahead and add in all of my spices. So we're going to add in some cinnamon. We're going to add in some allspice. We're going to add some pumpkin spice, and the recipe calls for a good bit of pumpkin spice added to this. That's going to give it some really good flavor. These are really good too if you make them a day in advance, because they seem to take on a lot of the flavors. And then we're going to add in some cloves. It's already smelling like fall. And then I'm going to mix all of that together, and I'm going to also add in a pinch of salt. Open my pumpkin puree, and remember, this is pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie mix. There is a difference. And you want to add in 2 cups of pumpkin puree into this. So it's just, this makes a good bit of muffin mix. I'm getting excited. Finally cooking with pumpkin. Okay, now we're going to mix that up. Now we want to add in our flour, and it's 3 cups of flour. And just using all-purpose flour. And then we also want to add in our baking soda. And the exact recipe will be down below for you guys. And we want to continue to mix. 1 cup of vegetable oil. And that is all the ingredients, and now you just want to make sure that everything is good and incorporated, and scrape the sides of the bowl a couple times just to make sure that everything is blended well. Okay, so now we need to blend up and make the filling for these muffins. And all it is 8 ounces of cream cheese and 1 cup of powdered sugar, which I already have in here. And I just want to blend this up until this is good and smooth. And it's going to puff a little bit. This is why you need to have your cream cheese at room temperature. Now once this is good and creamy, we are ready to assemble the pumpkin muffins. I'm going to show you guys how I quickly assemble these pumpkin muffins. So the first thing I do is I get a bowl out, because I like to lay my dirty spoons, you know, that I'm using in a bowl instead of getting everything all over the place. So I'm going to show you inside here what the filling looks like. It's really thick and it's dense, and it doesn't make a lot, so that means you don't put a lot into the muffin center, because basically as the muffin bakes, it kind of melts down a little bit. Then we have our muffin mix, which you've already seen. So the first thing I do is I use my little scooper. You guys know every time I make a cookie or anything, I use this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to fill your muffin cups. And I use 1 scoop to start. And we'll just do the first 4 so you guys can see how I do this. And it's very easy. And then I do about a 1/2 scoop, I guess, of the muffin mix in the bottom. Just like that. Along with that, these make really generous size pumpkin muffins. But you need to make sure that you have enough batter that covers the complete bottom so that your filling will hold within the muffin when you put the filling in. Okay, so let me get, there we go. I had to get a towel. All right, so what I do is I just use a spoon, and I spoon out just a little bit of the pumpkin mixture, just like that. It's very thick. And I use my fingers and put it right in the middle. You can also turn this into like a log in some plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator or freezer until it's completely firm, and then cut it into 24 pieces and use that as your centers. But I found that that was such a waste of time. I know that a lot of people, if I was going to make an abundance of them, I probably would do that, but for 1 batch, I'm not going to bother waiting an additional 2 hours for my center to set up, because honestly, these are going to bake up nicely. I've done these a million times. You just got to make sure that you don't overfill the, you know, with the filling. So now I'm going to put a scoop of my pumpkin mixture right on top of that filling so that it covers. just like that. And you don't want to be able to see any of that filling. So this takes a few minutes just to make sure that you get the tops completely covered nicely. And you're going to bake these in a 350-degree oven, and my oven is preheating right now. And you're going to bake these for 20 to 25 minutes or until they are completely done, which you'll be able to tell if they're done if you touch them with your finger on the top and they spring back. Hey guys, I just pulled out my muffins and they are completely cooked through. Nice. And you can tell, by the way, when you touch them that they're cooked. I'm going to let them cool for a few minutes. I'm going to pull these out and I'm going to load another pan. This recipe makes approximately 24 muffins. So I'm going to put these out. I just use a baking sheet and just line them all up on there and let them cool all together. My soup is still going over here next to me. And my gang should start coming home anytime soon. So I want to go ahead and get the next pan of these in the oven.